Parliament reconvenes tomorrow in what promises to be the start of a historic session. The legislation that will define Labor's time in power will soon be introduced and set in motion major changes to the economy that will have Julia Gillard judged as either a visionary or a villain. More from political correspondent Tom Eagleton.
The cherry blossoms are out, the winter break is over, and the season for talk has ended.
If I could welcome people to the first ministry meeting for this parliamentary session.
The government's set to introduce a raft of make or break legislation in the new parliamentary session, everything from the carbon tax to the mining tax and its health reforms.
So there's a big legislative agenda in front of us.
The coalition's been put on the back foot before the first vote. Tony Abbott's been forced to moderate his opposition to coal seam gas exploration on farms.
There is an old saying, an Englishman's home is his castle, and
well, it's not.
And well, it should be. And the thing is that if you don't want something to happen on your land, you ought to have a right to say no.
Music to the ears of farmers who've been battling to keep mining companies off their land, but not to the mining companies themselves.
Do we really want to move to a system where suddenly the Australian people do no longer benefit from the extraction of resources, or that single landholders can hold Australian wealth hostage?
Mr Abbott's now stepped back.
It's important that we come to a balanced approach which acknowledges the importance of the mining industry to Australia's economic future, but which protects prime agricultural land and respects the rights of farmers.
He speaks two statements to two different audiences because all he is a rank political opportunist trying to harvest votes wherever he can.
Muddled, naive and ultimately confusing politics for everybody. Is he going to support farmers in their right, as he did on Friday, to say no to coal seam gas rolling over their farmlands?
The Greens have been pushing to change the law to give farmers more power over mining operations, but Tony Abbott says he's not supporting that plan.
We're not going to support the Greens because the Greens are just against mining, full stop. They're particularly against the coal industry, which they want to close down.
There's a little bit of the same discomfort in the opposite direction, but we're working here on the national interest, on the interests of farmers on the land, not on whether Tony Abbott or I like each other.
There'll be no support from the government on the issue.
We don't agree with the Greens at all on their attitude to coal seam gas. There are many good analysts who agree with this proposition, and that is that gas is the transition fuel to a low-carbon economy.
In reality, the farmers versus miners issue is one for the states. They, after all, have ultimate responsibility for granting exploration licences, and facing growing community anger, state premiers of both political persuasions have been tipping the balance in favour of farmers. Tom Eagleton, Lateline.